Okay, we'll call the Planning Commission to order. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Looking at the agenda, just one update. Item number 1 has been withdrawn by the applicant, so we won't have any action on item number 1 or discussion, and so we'll skip that one. But commissioners, if I'd take a motion to approve the order of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item B, the minutes from our May 7th meeting, if everybody's had a chance to review those. Anybody see anything they'd like to change in there? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve.
So move.
Motion and second from Tommy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And again, number 1 was withdrawn, so we'll move on to number 2, and we'll ask Megan up to the podium. Talk about number 2.
Good afternoon, Chair and Planning Commission members. Items 2A, 2B, and 2C are applications for a minor subdivision, a zoning change, and a PUD planned unit development master land use plan. These applications are on properties 5601 and 5671, 34th Avenue South. So here up on the map, you can see this is Veterans Boulevard. Right south of the subject property is 34th Avenue South, and then across Veterans Boulevard to the west is the city of West Fargo. On your screen, you can see some images. The top image would be on 34th Avenue facing northeasterly, and the image below is on the private drive that separates the 2 proposed lots of the subdivision looking towards the west. And so in both images, you see the undeveloped property. And just a quick note, the applications, though the full boundary, the application for the plat covers the full boundary, includes both of the properties, replats into how they show up today. The zoning change, which is an application for existing from MR3 multi-dwelling residential to multi-dwelling residential with a PUD overlay, as well as the PUD planned unit development master plan, is only for the west property, the proposed lot 1 of the plat. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail in just a second. So up on your screen is just the zoning, just to show contextually what's happening nearby. This is Shots 5th edition, and so you see lots 1, proposed lot 1 on the left, on the west, and proposed lot 2 on the right, which is already has been constructed, and nothing is planned or will be changing or is proposed to change with these applications. On your screen is the proposed PUD master land use plan. What's being proposed is a 4-story residential project. And so this shows the footprint of the structures on site, the parking, the open space. You can see the circulation, all the access is coming off of that private drive. And then lastly, there's a proposed PUD overlay that goes along with it. So full details are in the packet, the last page of your packet, what you received, but the request for the PUD modification is to increase the residential density, to increase building coverage, and to modify parking requirements. And then additionally, there's some other design standards. Highlights are up on your screen, but if you have any questions on more specifics, I'd be glad to go through them. I did get one walk-in inquiry just yesterday, so it didn't get in the published packet, who just had inquiry and no noted concern. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the application, and the motion is up on your screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Megan? Seeing no questions for Megan, is the applicant here and wishes to add anything?
If you guys have any questions,
Thank you, Mr. Yunus. Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? None? Does anyone else in the audience wish to add anything for or against this item? Anyone else wish to add anything? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve per staff recommendation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Holtz. Aye. Gunkelman.
Aye.
Cecil.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye.
Stoffren.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
Tulsa. Aye. Schneider.
Aye. And the motion passes. Moving on to item number 3. We'll ask Donald up to the podium.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. Items 3A and B are Selkirk Place Second Edition, a major subdivision and zone change. To locate the property is outlined here. Our newest fire station is under construction here, right off 64th Avenue, I-29. This undeveloped property down here, Davies High School is down here. Property is a big open field with some water in it as of yesterday. Here you're looking across toward the interstate out here. This plowed or this mowed line here is approximately the edge of Selkirk Place First Edition, which has a few residences developed on it. It's a residential subdivision. And then here is just again facing south across the property. I-29 would be on your right here. Again, just an undeveloped field. The subject property is partly zoned ag and partly zoned general commercial. This general commercial zoning was done several years ago before this area was developed, and it remains on that site. The proposed zone change is from that ag and general commercial to MR3 multi-dwelling residential with a conditional overlay, SR4 and SR5. We'll take a look at those locations in a minute. The plat here proposes 46 single-family lots in 3 blocks, and then one SR5 zoned lot, which is over here, where the applicant intends to build some townhomes. And then this Lot 15, Block 1, is proposed to be zoned MR3, multi-dwelling residential with a conditional overlay. Looks like that. The conditional overlay is not a large one here, and it's included in the draft is included in your packet, but the focus here is on the location and size of accessory buildings, which in this case is mainly garages. We often find there's a large number of garages, and they get located all over the property when we have these apartment dwellings. So work with the applicant to develop some limitations on the location and the maximum size of those. And also a third item would be pedestrian and vehicular circulation specified, so when that building is built, it connects with the surrounding sidewalks. And we've received no comments on this one here. The applicant, John Eunice, is with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. The staff's recommended motion for approval is stated in the staff report and shown on your screen for the plat for Selkirk Place Second Edition and the zone change as described in the staff report. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for staff? Any questions?
I have a question.
Go
Could
ahead.
we go back just 2 slides? Is that a waterway in there?
These are the floodplain lines, so no, there's no actual waterway in there, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
those
It's just
are-
a low area?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
As you
And-
saw in the pictures here, there is kind of some lower areas in here that just accumulate water. But it's not,
And then are sidewalks required?
they would be as part of the development, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to add anything? Is there any questions for the applicant? Anybody have questions for the applicant? Seeing none, anyone else in the public wish to add anything for or against this item? Anyone else want to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move approval.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Morgan.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Gunkelman.
Aye.
Stoffren.
Aye.
Tulsa. Aye. Rosenberg.
Aye.
Holtz. Aye. Cecil.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. The motion passes. Donald, why don't you tell us about number 4?
Yes, sir, thank you. Number 4 is Edgewood Estates Third Edition. This is located way up here in North Fargo. So location here is Longfellow School and the park next to it. Trollwood is up here, Trollwood Park. And this is in the Edgewood Estates development here, or for you old-time Fargoans, where Cardinal Minch used to be. The proposal here is a minor subdivision. Again, it's an undeveloped lot here on the corner of Parker Place, as you saw in the map here, Parker Place curves around here, so it's Parker Place on both sides. Commissioners, this one may look familiar. The zoning here is SR2. There's no zone change proposed. As you see, this entire development is zoned SR2. Commissioners, this may look a little familiar to you. Back in 2021, this property owner had 2 lots here and sought to combine them, which he did. But apparently the plans changed, and he would now like to divide them again, pretty much back to their original configuration here. It's just a simple division of 1 lot into 2. Again, no zone change is proposed. The storm sewer easement that was removed on the last plat will be put back in the correct place with this plat. We did receive 1 inquiry from a representative of the neighborhood who just wanted to know what was going on here, and he seemed satisfied that it was pretty simple and had no complaints or comments. The applicant, Brian Pattengale of Houston Engineering, is with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. Staff's recommendation for approval for the Edgewood Estates 3rd edition is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Donald? Any questions? Mr. Pattengale, do you have anything to add?
Only if there are questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to add anything for or against this item? Anyone else want to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners,
I move to approve with the motion in the staff report.
a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Shui,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes. Moving on to number 5. We'll have Luke introduce that for us.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Luke Mormon with the Planning Department. Items 5A and 5B is the Pines at the District 7th Edition. This is located at 5501 38th Street South. To give some context with my cursor on the screen, you can see Interstate I-29, 52nd Avenue, and then 38th Street running up on the east side of the property. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision plat and zone change for Lot 1, Block 1, Pines at the District, 6th Edition. Here's some site photos. On the top, we're facing north along 38th Street. And this is on the southern border of the subject property. And then on the bottom, we are facing south across the subject property from 53rd Avenue South. And then you can see the cars on 38th Street. Zoning is currently LC Limited Commercial with the CO, conditional overlay. The proposed zoning is LC Limited Commercial and MR3 multi-dwelling residential with the CO. Or both of them have a conditional overlay on it. Here's a preliminary plat. The request is to split an existing lot into a 3-lot minor subdivision entitled the Pines at the District 7th Edition. Lots 1 and 2 on the east side here, shown with my cursor, will remain LC with the CO, and then Lot 3 will be the MR3 with a conditional overlay as well. Staff has worked with the applicant to simplify the existing conditional overlay and then add an access utility easement that is not currently shown on the plat, but it'll essentially run through the middle of the property. That'll give access to all of the lots in this. Here's the preliminary master plan provided by the applicant. It's just for reference only, but just to show the general building layout and vehicular pedestrian connectivity. The yellow building on the left side here shows the multi-dwelling structure they're proposing, which will follow the MR3 zoning and the proposed CO regulations. Staff has received and responded to 1 inquiry about this project with no noted concern. Here are the conditional overlay standards just in general. And then staff finds all criteria to be met and are recommending approval. Project Representative Brian Pattengale is here to answer any questions. And that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Luke?
I have a question. The last 2 cases have shown water or ponds, and those are in the floodplain, I assume, currently. When the diversion is completed, will they be outside?
I'll forward that one to Nathan.
Yes, any area here that's shown in the floodplain today will be removed once the diversion is completed and certified by FEMA, including these ponds.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering what happens to the insurance while they're still in the floodplain.
The same insurance requirements will exist if the structure's in the floodplain, but the city's building elevation, floodproof building standards require any new structures to remove themselves from the 100-year floodplain prior to being occupied.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Removal by fill.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none for Luke, Mr. Pattengale? Does anybody want to ask Mr. Pattengale questions about Giddy Up LLC? Because that's the applicant. It's an interesting name.
I have a question.
Sure. Mr. Pattengale, if you could introduce yourself for the record, too.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brian Pattengale with Houston Engineering.
I was just wondering if the pond is going to remain a pond, if it's going to be developed into a pond, or whether it's going to go away.
That is an existing stormwater pond currently. It is not going to go away. It's going to remain. It serves as regional detention for these properties and the properties to the east across 38th. So yeah, that pond will stay as it is more or less today.
Okay, so what is the description of a pond?
As far as stormwater management, or what
Yeah.
are you?
Well, as it is and what you expect it to be.
In this case, it's a stormwater pond. It's designed to manage the stormwater runoff and provide stormwater treatment for the adjacent developments. It's sort of the generic definition of what we're using it for. Sometimes it can be amenities. In this case, this one was originally designed as sort of amenities and then was retrofitted in the, to act as a stormwater pond as well.
Sure, so like amenities are those, and usually I think there are no amenities, but some places they are planted grasses and that sort of thing.
Correct. Usually it's a landscaping sort of visual amenity type of thing, sort of provide some open space and some visual cues to the site, but not any like other like boating or fishing amenities or anything like that.
Sure. So are you planning anything for that?
No, we were not planning anything for that as far as at this point from the developer.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to add anything for or against? Anyone else in the audience wish to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make the motion to accept the findings of staff as presented.
Second,
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Tossa,
aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes. Moving on to number 6. Luke?
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 6A and 6B on your agenda is Legacy 1, 8th edition. This is located at 6155 24th Street South. And again, if you follow my cursor on the screen, 25th Street South is kind of on the west side of the property. Then this is 62nd Avenue, and then 24th Street, kind of on the east side of it. And for larger context, it's 64th Avenue, a little further south. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision plat and zone change for Lot 1, Block 1, Legacy 1, 7th edition. Here's the site photos, and then on the top, we're facing northwest towards the subject property from 24th Street and 62nd Avenue, that intersection. And it's currently vacant, as you can see. And then on the bottom, we're facing north along 24th Street from 62nd Avenue South. And then this will be kind of where the lots 2 and 3 are, which I'll explain in a minute, but that'll be the SR5 residential lots. This is currently GO, General Office, with a CO conditional overlay. The proposed zoning is to be GO with a conditional overlay and SR5, which is single-family residential. The adjacent zoning to the north is PI, public and institutional, and SR4, as you can see by the colors here. So the PI is in green, and then the other single-family SR4 is in kind of a yellow color. The preliminary plat, this is a request to split an existing lot into 3-lot minor subdivision entitled Legacy 1 8th Edition. The Lot 1, which is on the left side here, will remain GO with a conditional overlay, and then lots 2 and 3 will be SR5 single dwelling residential. Staff has received no inquiries about this project, and we find all criteria to be met and are recommending approval. Project Representative Brandon Rayboyne is not present, but I believe it can answer any questions for you guys.
Any questions for Luke? Seeing no questions, does the applicant wish to add anything? Not here. Anyone else from the audience wish to add anything for or against? Anyone else in the audience wish to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the findings of staff.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Cecil.
Aye.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
Foltz.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye. Sorry.
Morgan.
Aye.
Gunkelman.
Aye.
Stoffern.
Aye.
Tossa.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Luke. We'll ask Donald back to the podium for item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is titled Beardsley's Edition. Another one that might look a little familiar to you here. This is 22nd Street North between 7th and 8th Avenues North, and an adjacent alley here. This is 21st Street North. It's a Great Northern Drive. You did part 1 of this, you might say, on the April 2nd Planning Commission, where this is a vacation of right-of-way. It's a vacation of this right-of-way. You did part 1 of this, which was a vacation of 23 and a half feet along the west side of this property here. As you see here, there's a little blank space over here. So that's the part that you worked on the vacation for already. This is part 2 of this. The history for this, as noted in your staff report, is when this street was dedicated by Beardsley's Edition back in the 1880s, this is the original right-of-way that was dedicated, and then the part you vacated in the April meeting was dedicated in 1951. That was additional width. So since it was dedicated in 2 pieces, it was worked out better to vacate it in 2 pieces instead of doing one big one. So eventually the entire thing will be become part of the adjacent properties. Here's facing south from 8th Avenue. This fenced area is about where the 23 and a half feet is. And then we're just looking straight down here. And then this is the alley. We're on 21st Street. We're looking west. This building in the back is John T. Jones Construction. So this alley would be vacated as well. Zoning here is LI, Limited Industrial. And as you saw, the properties around there are developed with industrial uses. The plat here, this has a really complex, I have a 14-slide PowerPoint in the history of this plat if you're really interested someday. But this 8th Avenue, which is now up here, was originally dedicated down here, and then it was vacated and relocated. For some reason, they left this little piece in here, so we have to vacate that. This is 22nd Avenue and the alley. And then the applicant, as always our process, goes through and determines if any utilities are remain. We know there are a couple in there that are covered by a blanket easement. And then the adjacent property owners here are going to have their own easement for this property, as I understand it. We are not part of, the city is not part of that easement. But then the adjacent property becomes, or the vacated area becomes part of the adjacent property. And again, as we've done many times before, vacations are not in the land development code. We use the North Dakota Century Code, section 40-39, as our to the requirements for vacation. The applicant, Tim Vanderzanden, is here. Okay, there you go. Okay, is with us this afternoon. He may wish to address the commission. Otherwise, staff's recommending approval for the vacation of 22nd Street in the adjacent alley in Beardsley's Edition, pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 4039. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to add anything?
Not unless there are any questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
I just have one.
Sure, let's ask you to the podium and please introduce yourself for the record. Mr. Vanderzaden.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Tim Vanderzanden with John T. Jones Construction.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, I know where the building is, and with the vacation, what are your plans for the space?
At this point, it's simply clean up the area, clean up all the overgrowth. We plan to probably extend our fence out. Right now, the fence is getting a little dilapidated and doesn't look very good, so we want to clean it up, clean the area up. We're going to work with the other landowners to facilitate proper drainage and so forth.
So you've worked with a consensus of other landowners who want to do the same?
Yeah, we have, I believe, 5 landowners involved here, so it's, I've been coordinating the whole effort to make sure everybody's in agreement.
Drainage has been a problem there then?
Yes, yes, and it has been addressed previously, but since that area was not, since it was nobody's property, then it wasn't addressed down in the area that was the city's property.
Sounds like an improvement.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Not, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to say anything for or against this item? Anyone else have anything to add? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make the motion to accept the findings of staff as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Shui,
Aye.
Tasa,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to number 8, we'll ask Luke back up. You guys sharing the same chair today? That's good.
Yep, pretty much. Thank you, Commissioners. Items 8A and 8B is Chaz A. Roberts Edition. This is located at 901 9th Street South. To give some context, further west is University Drive and then 10th Street South. And then abutting the property is 9th Avenue South on the north side. And then to the east is 9th Street. The applicant is requesting a zone change and a CUP conditional use permit on lots 12 through 13, Block S, Chaz A. Roberts Edition. The CUP is to allow an alternative access plan for parking reduction. For site photos, the facing southeast towards the subject property, kind of from the alley, as you can see. The proposed parking would be a little bit where these shrubs are. And then this parking is on the adjacent property, just FYI. And then on the bottom is from the intersection of 9th Street and 9th Avenue, facing towards the front of the building. The zone is currently NC Neighborhood Commercial with a CO conditional overlay. And the proposed change is to be just NC Neighborhood Commercial. The city hosted a neighborhood open house meeting on Thursday, May 23rd, where planning staff, property owner, and the potential future owner and one neighborhood resident were in attendance. The resident noted that they were glad they were adding off-street parking, which I'll point out in just a minute. In addition to the standards of the Land Development Code notice procedures, the Hawthorne neighborhood representative was also provided the same notice documents, but did not respond. Though this project was originally advertised for having a zone change to repeal and reestablish a CO, the further discussion between the staff after the neighborhood meeting determined that the existing CO could be removed due to the lack of neighborhood concern, the standard zoning requirements, and then the proposed parking reduction being sufficient to address all of staff's concerns for the project. Here's a preliminary site plan. The 7 spaces are required based on the Land Development Code for this use and the square footage, and 4 are being proposed on the west side, which is adjacent to the alley. The applicant is requesting to address the parking requirements on the property through a conditional use permit for parking reduction. The applicant noted that the subject property has been served through on-street parking along 9th Avenue South, with the proposal to add parking along the alley. Our city's traffic engineer stated his approval for the proposed parking reduction, noting that if they maximize the off-street parking to 4 spots, as shown on the screen, daytime parking is sufficient along 9th Avenue South in that block to handle any additional parking needs. The additional parking would require a parking lot buffer and residential protection standards setback, as well as another landscape buffer for residential protection standards, and those are indicated in the blue on the screen. Staff has received and responded to one inquiry about the project, and we just discussed their concerns about the added parking. Staff's recommendation is shown on screen. The planning staff and the city traffic engineer reviewed and are in support of the proposal. Staff finds all criteria to be met and are recommending approval with these 2 conditions shown. Property owner Brian Walker is here to answer any questions, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Sorry to be asking so many questions, but
It's okay.
I'm just wondering about the condition of the alley there. I know some alleys are hard surface and others are really in poor condition. I'm just wondering if the added traffic in that alley is going to affect the condition.
So I guess I'm not sure what when it appears to be gravel. I know the 9th Avenue South and 9th Street are being redone. That's why the top picture shows all the traffic cones and such, but I'm not sure about, I guess I don't have any information to indicate any additional wear and tear on that
From
alley.
here, it looks like it's in pretty bad shape. Okay, anybody else know? It's tar?
Yeah.
Oh, good, all right.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering about, okay, no more questions.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here and wish to add anything? Is there any questions for the applicant?
It was a church before, way back in time. So, with no parking.
Seeing no other questions. Anybody else in the audience wish to add anything for or against? Anyone else wish to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I move to approve with motion and staff report.
Second,
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Shuey,
Aye.
Foltz,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Tassa,
aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Dunkelman,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you, Luke. Moving on to item number 9. We'll ask Elena up to the podium.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Elena Espeseth, and today we'll be presenting agenda item number 9. This is West Track 5th Edition, a minor subdivision. The subject property is located at 315 West Track Drive South and 624 34th Street South. For reference, this is Interstate 29, my bad, 13th Avenue South. This is the Cass County Jail just north of the subject property. The top image was taken facing north, looking across the subject property. There's a private drive that goes along here where these vehicles are parked. These buildings in the background are on the adjacent property. You can see a crane over here, and this is on the Cass County Jail parcel. And this is where the stormwater retention pond is for the subject property. On the bottom image, was taken looking east across the subject property. These buildings on the right are on the adjacent property, and there is a mound of sediment that is also from the adjacent property construction site. The zoning is LI, or limited industrial, with a conditional overlay. No zone changes proposed. The conditional overlay is to restrict some uses and has some site requirements. So the applicant is requesting a minor subdivision. This is a replat of Lot 2 and 3, Block 1, West Track 3rd Edition, to be entitled West Track 5th Edition. The subdivision will consist of 2 lots in 1 block. There is a proposed access easement that will be on this flag portion of Lot 2 that allows adjacent properties access and Lot 2 access to 34th Street South. There is a current or existing access and utility easement here on Lot 2 that allows adjacent properties access to West Track Drive South. To date, staff have received no inquiries regarding the subject property. Tony Uckel from MBN Engineering, Melissa Solbeck from Great Plains Food Bank, and Aaron Hill from Great Plains Food Bank are here to answer any questions you might have. And staff's recommendation is for approval, as stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Seeing no questions. Do you have any questions for our former colleague that we should call her up and ask her? Any questions for
I
the
can try to
applicant?
think of one, but
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there anyone in, or does the applicant wish to add anything? Okay, if not, anyone else in the audience wish to add anything for or against? Anyone else wish to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
move to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Morgan,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Shui,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes. Item number 10.
Agenda item number 10 is Leach and Wells subdivision. This is a vacation of Fifth Avenue right-of-way. The subject property is located at 421 4th Street North, adjacent to 415 4th Street North, which is the Fargo Public School District office. For reference, there is a River House Apartments that is currently being constructed. This is 2nd Street North, the railroad, and City Hall would be just below this corner of this image, not seen. The left image was taken looking east, and the right image was taken looking west. All properties around the subject property are zoned DMU. This is right-of-way. It actually does not have a zoning district, so this map is incorrect. So the applicant is requesting a vacation of a portion of Fifth Avenue North right-of-way adjacent to Block 23, Leach and Wells subdivision. The plat shows the area to be vacated. The portion of Fifth Avenue North is not used as a public street. The railroad has been here since 1880s, and there's never been a developed street. An access and utility easement will be dedicated to the public as shown on the plat. And upon vacation, the area will become part of the adjacent property at 415 4th Street. So to date, staff has received 2 inquiries, one with no concern and another phone call from today, so that is not in your packet, with concerns of increased traffic with the River House apartment being constructed to the east. And he said that they use that right away for access to their property. The vacation plat was reviewed by PUPEC on March 11th with no concerns. Brian Pattengale from Houston Engineering is here to answer any questions you might have. And staff's recommendation is for approval, as stated in the staff report and shown on the screen.
Thank you. Is there any questions for staff? Go ahead, John.
I take it by vacating it, they want to be able to block it off?
So that hasn't necessarily been stated, but that is the concern of, I guess, the adjacent landowners.
The
If
school,
they wouldn't be
the
able to
school
use it.
district owning the building, I take it they would want to block it off to conceivably not have the traffic from that apartment building?
I believe that there is going to be no noticeable difference, but that it is going to just be part of their property.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Not, Mr. Pattengale, do you want to come up, introduce yourself again for the record?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brian Pattengale with Houston Engineering. Yes, the school district is currently in the process of selling the property. They are no longer headquarters there anymore. They're currently using that public right-of-way as a portion of their parking lot, essentially. So while they are vacating the right-of-way, if you look at the vacation of the plat, there is a reestablishment of an access easement over there. So there still is access on it after this we're said and done. But because it is a public street currently right now versus parking lot, it complicates some stuff as far as the use of the land to the adjacent. So if that building's potentially, whoever buys the property could redevelop it, that access easement stays there. But as far as redeveloping parking lot access and things like that and circulation internal to that site, it benefits it to be a just access easement versus a public right of way. Because then now the city doesn't have to maintain it. It's basically just a private parking lot through some access.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant? Not, appreciate the additional description. Anyone else in the audience wish to add anything for or against? Anyone else wish to add anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Make the motion to accept the findings as presented.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
Gunkelman.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye.
Cecil.
Aye.
Holtz.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye.
Stoffren.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes.
Thank you.
We're done with public hearings. We'll move on to item D1 and ask Mr. Gilmore up to the podium, explain what this is about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a recommendation really from the Economic Development Incentives Committee that's going to be going to Fargo City Commission soon. The recommendation is to approve a renewal plan that would really tear down everything on this block and build some type of new development. As we look at this block, it's entirely vacant. Really, all the buildings are either economically or functionally or physically obsolete, and so it's really appropriate for redevelopment. Normally, when we have one of these renewal plans, we know what the developer is going to propose. They've got some plans in mind. Right now, this is still a work in progress. Yet, because the buildings are all vacant, it's been kind of a nuisance for the police, kind of a potential fire danger. The city is interested in trying to move ahead and encourage these buildings to be demolished ahead of the final plan being prepared. The applicant or the owners of the property have pending applications with the planning department, and so you will see some applications in the near future that will look at the future use of this property, what will be allowed, and I believe there's also going to be a request to vacate the alley. So anyway, as part of the renewal plan process, this is referred to the Planning Commission to see if you feel it's consistent with the plans of the city, particularly the Century Code requires us to look at the comprehensive plan for the city, which is still currently the GO 2030 plan. This is the current zoning on the block. The west half is all downtown mixed use. The east half is primarily multifamily with some commercial for a parking lot on that southeast corner. As we, these are just some photos of the property. It's all vacant, pretty blighted. And so the goal here is to take this down as soon as possible rather than, wait for all the final zoning and applications such as Renaissance Zone. When we look at the consistency with the comprehensive plan, certainly our comprehensive plan encourages infill. When you look at this particular block that's located here, the downtown in focus plan called for this to be residential, and I believe that will be a major component of any redevelopment plan. When we look at the core neighborhood plan, it's actually not in the Horace Mann neighborhood, but immediately to the east calls for this future land use to be multifamily. So some type of higher density housing is likely to the request that you'll see. I have the recommended motion is to recommend to the city commission that this proposed renewal plan is consistent with the GO 2030 comprehensive plan of the city of Fargo. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Go ahead, John.
I guess I know of some of the owners of this property. Having this take place, are you saying that with this, does the city assume the responsibility to do the demolition of everything on that block? Or is it an incentive for these private owners to?
So that's a good question. Along with this renewal plan, there will be a development agreement, which the developers will agree to clear all the property on the block. They will then be reimbursed later from future TIF income. So it's their responsibility to take it down. The city has some backup conditions, so if they get halfway done and quit, the city would be able to step in and complete the work.
Gotcha.
Don, go ahead.
How many years has it been that block has been vacant or blighted?
I believe the gas station closed in about 2010, so it's been quite some time. I don't know about that dental building. The housing was probably occupied up until a few years ago. Everything was vacant when these particular owners acquired the buildings. The houses are in probably a little worse condition now. The SWAT team's been practicing there.
Yeah, I've been watching the progress of the disintegration of that block. I remember a few years ago going to a meeting that was held about a proposal for the block, and nothing really came of it. Has it changed hands many times? Secondly, the next question would be, is it going to be one developer or several developers that you're anticipating?
It would be one developer. It was acquired probably about a year ago from JS2L is the LLC that owns it. That includes John and Stephen Lingstead. Previously, it had been owned by Kilborn Group. I'm not sure who they acquired it from.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jim? I'll just say I really like the city moving forward with these policies and the kitty corner block as well, where we can get rid of the blighted property earlier in the process. I think that's really helpful.
One other thing that hasn't been helpful is that some of those houses were nice houses when there were still people living in them. And it's unfortunate that they've been sitting for so long unoccupied.
Any other questions for Jim? Not, there is a recommended motion.
I'd like to make the motion to recommend the city commission that the proposed renewal plan is consistent with the GO 2030 comprehensive plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? If not, please take the roll.
Tulsa,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Dunkelman,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Jim. Okay, so the last item on here, D2, is something I asked to be put forward, so I'll give you a little background on this. I've been on the Planning Commission for 10 years now, almost, nearing 10 years. And I know when I started and before I used to attend meetings, there was always a question about, transition as how long you should be on a planning commission, how long a chair needs to be there. And I think we've implemented a lot of those rules through the bylaws. Over the last couple of years since COVID, maybe there's been kind of an awkward or uncomfortable process at the city about how these things work. And I think there are governance processes going through at the city trying to work out some of these things. I asked this to come forward for us as a discussion. I think we've all served on other boards and things too, and I recently stepped down as president of the land trust too, that we didn't have a policy on how long those things stay. And so trying to bring this forward to really just to clean up a process and get people's feedback in a setting that we can all talk, since we can't all talk to each other. So what this proposes in here is term limits, basically. So right now, we're all appointed to 3-year terms, which is a century code item, but there's no sort of end to that process unless you don't get reappointed. And so this would basically set up a way to kind of go out after three-year terms. I think there's two things in here. So in paragraph 3 there, you'll see it's a total of 3 year terms. This does not impact the extraterritorial members, which we have 2 of those are designated by the county and a state statute. So not for our 2 commissioners that are ET members. But for the rest of us, this would kind of go into effect. I would say that we added a sentence at the end about members are appointed until resignation or reappointment or replacement has occurred, just to maybe explain why that's in there. The way the city processes work, sometimes they're not Johnny on the spot with the reappointments. And so to make sure we don't end up with people vacancies here until they get reappointments, even despite the 3-year terms, you'd finish out you'd stay a member until that reappointment or replacement happens. And so I know probably all of us have experienced it where maybe you're a month off from when you get reappointed from when your last one was supposed to end or whatever calendar issues are come up. So this sort of keeps smooth transitions as well. So there's a couple things there. I think one of the things we talked about maybe adding, if we take a look at this, I'm not suggesting we vote on this tonight. I would change the language to maybe say, 3 consecutive 3-year terms or something like that. So if you're off, you could come back if you really wanted to, but so there's a way that you're not like done for life if you really wanted to come back, if that is your wishes anyways. And so I guess this was kind of the idea. And what's the impact on this right now? I'm the second longest running one next to John. My appointment term is, I think, up at the end of this month. And so that would be my 3rd 3-year term. John is in his 4th term right now. And so he was I think year and a half or so left of his term, something like that he was appointed to. So by reading this, we both go until our terms are done or until a reappointment or a replacement happens. And so that would be what the current impact of this, if this was to pass today type thing. There's been some discussion internally about what the next steps are in this process. If we're the final body for our own bylaws, or does it go to the city commission? Are these like recommendations to the commission? Does it take an ordinance change? And so I think some of that the city's working through, but I thought I wanted to give this body a chance to talk about our term limit, something we want, or is it just up to the appointers, the mayor and the commission? Anyways, I'm done talking. If anybody else has an opinion on this.
So Rocky, you're talking about just the city appointed, right?
Yes, just the city appointed, not the county.
The ET have to do their own.
Yep, that's dictated by other rules, yeah.
Yep.
I guess, Rocky, one other thing, if you're looking at item number A1 and A2, we probably need to, if I'm reading this right or wrong, let's see. It was our understanding that the chair would serve, a chair and a vice chair would each serve for 2 years. So that probably needs to be clarified in there too.
I think that would be a good recommendation.
If that's our intent, so that with you sort of, as vice chair, you're in training to be chair. I think if we're going to clarify this, it'd be nice to at least state that, so when somebody signs on to the planning commission, they know if they're asked to maybe, you call it the ladder, if you'd like to be vice chair. It also means that you have to be in a position that to fulfill those, you need 4 years of terms available, or of terms available to you to complete your term as chair then. So I think if we're gonna do that, I would probably like to see that language in there too.
Yeah, and maybe just for some history. So I think when John and I both came on, the chair had been chair for a very long time. And I think the goal of after he was no longer chair was to start this 2-and-2 process.
Yep.
With COVID and other things, Miranda and I had talked, and she asked if I could stay on chair for a third year. So I've been chair for 3 years. And so we've already broken that process, but weird situations, I know. And so Miranda was jumping around things too. And so that's where we're at now. So we were thinking in July, there would probably be that discussion about next chair as well. But again, there's no terms or anything in here, so that would probably be good to clarify so everyone has a same understanding. If someone's interested in being vice chair too, and obviously Miranda is interested in being chair as current vice chair, I urge you to talk to staff or Miranda directly. But yeah, other thoughts?
Maybe the chair and vice chair language doesn't have to be mandatory because you may run into those circumstances again, but at least a recommendation or intention.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing would be is if you know that you're gonna be vice chair, that you should be able to serve 4 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be in your 3rd term and then be appointed,
Yeah.
be booted out before you.
Yeah, that was my
That-
question. Is that in extension you do, sorry. Yeah, that was my question. So that would be in addition to the 3-3-year.
No,
Or
it
that's
wouldn't
within
be.
the
I think
3
you need the person that's looking to move into the vice chair would want to, it'd be a commitment that it still would have to be completed within his 3-year
Okay.
terms.
Yeah.
You want to identify it early.
But it's a good discussion. I know the board I work for professionally actually has a thing there that if you're chair, you can serve for an next, so you stay on from the term limits. And it's all up it's all
Right.
potential.
Yeah, I mean, I guess whatever, I mean, if we're gonna clarify one, we might as well clarify, or
Yep.
at least try to give some direction to both.
Yeah.
Just a question. So, for those members appointed by Cass County, are they ever chair?
I think they can be. The board picks the chair. I mean, I think we probably all have different feelings on if that's the right approach or not, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing
Yeah,
that
I
stops
just
that. I don't think.
had never heard it discussed before.
We did go probably 3 or 4 years without one, or at least, and a long time with just one ET
Yes.
member, so. And we're running out of, frankly, residents in an ET area.
There's no ET left.
Helps if
You're
you
being
pay
absorbed.
city taxes,
Yeah.
chair it personally.
That's right.
Would there ever be a scenario where a term would be partially filled in unexpected absence, or when that replacement
I was
is
a
appointed,
partial.
does that start a 3-year for unique to that individual?
Yeah, that would probably be good clarification in here too. It would be 3 full terms, because I know, yeah, if you step into a term. I mean, obviously, we had this situation come up at the city commission and mayoral level, and it, created an awkward lawsuit type thing. And so learning from that process would probably be helpful. And I see our lawyers taking notes, so that's good.
Because right now it is tiered, isn't it? With the expiration of,
Yeah, so that's another issue too, is,
because that's not specifically in here, but it should be in that we're tiering, that, this many number expire this year and this many expire.
That's really hard to do that because depends on, a lot of people don't stay on the length of their,
Yeah, but it's the spot. It's not the person.
it's the spot.
It's the spot. There's
Well,
8.
One
If you
goes through.
identify 8, then every 3 or whatever would
So if somebody
would
leaves
expire
early,
every year.
you don't get appointed to a full term. You're
Right.
appointed to the partial term, so they're always staggered.
They'd be staggered that way.
I was a partial when I started.
I think I was too.
I think
So,
you were
yeah.
as well.
so I mean, are you gonna set an anniversary date? If you're appointed to a partial term, does that start then the start of your first 3-year term?
No. And I
Why
think that
wouldn't?
helps with new people coming on. So if you have 2 every, consecutively, then, we don't have 4 new, we've got a couple new.
If you think about it, like our
For
US
onboarding.
senators, every 6 years, if you left, you'd get appointed to finish their term so that you'd always have a staggered situation, that type of thing. So you're appointed to the seat, not one of 9 or 10 or whatever. You're appointed to
You
that,
get-
that spot.
Try to get term limits there too. Oh, sorry. Little humor.
I think we have like five ending June 30th, so that's
Yeah, we have a
probably-
lot ending in 3
probably-
weeks, so it's probably not
not
the
a good situation.
best idea, but
Didn't this come up in the mayoral race?
yes. And so it's a thing. So I mean, that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm kind of in the situation where this impacts me, and so I'm okay with that. However it works, I've been happy to serve.
You
and
tried
so-
to run? Is that the trick?
No, so, yeah.
Oh.
He's trying to get today's meeting.
This has been a really, I will say, yeah, not a great situation to have been in the last couple of years. I'm talking through this process, and so I think it would be, everybody would welcome some more definitive rules between staff, commissioners, and administration and elected officials. So.
The other question I had is, who is the appointing commission? Is that the city commission entirely, or is that what it says, or is that the mayor, or, I mean,
I mean, I
because it says in here, the
Yeah.
commission, the commissioners serve at the pleasure of the appointing commission. Who is that?
my understanding is the city commission.
Yeah, it's actually a recommendation of the mayor that, and that's all by statute. It's a recommendation of the mayor that's then ratified by the sitting city commissioners.
It's still a city commit, so the mayor just couldn't come in and fire everybody theoretically without approval from the whole board, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think John and I anyways have been through 3 different commissioners as our liaison commissioners too, and I think they each have their own different methods and means and weigh in on that process differently. And so it seems like if we could kind of flatten that out a little bit so there's an expectation, would be helpful for them as well, so they know what their roles are.
I'm just wondering about the rationale with the 3-year. Is that pretty standard or common? Like, or the 3-term?
I mean,
Was
I
there-
would say that it's all over the board, totally open. This was an amount suggested to me by our current liaison commissioner.
Okay.
When was the last time a planning commission member did not get reappointed even though they could have been?
Like an unwilling,
Yeah, maybe the mayor didn't like the person or the city commission didn't like them, and we didn't,
I mean, without naming names, I can't really think of one,
Yeah.
but I'm sure,
I think
There's been
sometimes-
folks that have
I don't know
been-
what those
Yeah,
conversations
when it
are
Yeah.
happens, it might be something that happens in your life.
in private.
Or
yeah.
somebody, we had one commissioner, well, actually, that was, moved from the city to actually the Clay County in part of his term and had to resign.
I'm sure there's been some where there's been a closed door conversation that kind of said, we're looking to reappoint somebody else.
And maybe this is a good time to explain, maybe Alyssa has a little bit more background than I do, but citywide, you might, at the city commission, have been listening or hearing about the city commissioner doing governance workshops or sessions, and there's a kind of next on the list of topics that they're encompassing is overarching kind of standardization of boards and commissions. The planning commission, the planning department has the luxury of doing kind of quasi-public, kind of judicial public, commissions. So there's a little less flexibility for our boards, but you can imagine like the Native American Commission and the Arts Commission, have a lot of flexibility. And so they're trying to standardize kind of those general operations. I would say the Planning Commission is kind of the, in my opinion, one of the lead, kind of highly effective boards and commissions. And so, Commissioner Schneider, by you taking this on, you're kind of also setting a bit of a template, if you will, for some of our other boards and commissions. I think the city commission is looking at working with Nancy's office or the city attorney's office doing onboarding and practices and standardizations of all of our boards and commissions. So there'll probably be some meetings in the near future about this in further depth. So some of the practices, I think I heard a question like why three-year terms. I think that's been a general standard that we've tried to live to, but I think it's been all over the board based on, situational issues, like a, kind of longevity, or maybe there's an initiative like a growth plan or something where you don't want to like kind of upset the apple cart, if you will. And so there's been other considerations in mind, or we might be doing a core neighborhood plan or things like that. So there's been a lot of other factors that have come in along the way.
So yeah, the number of years, I mean, that was what was suggested. Obviously, city commissioners can serve for 12 years, which would be different than the standard.
I like the 3 better than 2, because I think 3 gets you enough experience to understand what's happening. But also, you're signing up, but not for a lifetime. You're signing up for,
Correct, yeah.
For a good term. And I think that 2 years is probably a little short, especially if you're going to try to limit, to only 6 years. And that rotates a lot of people in and out of understanding this. I mean, it's been, extremely helpful for me to have you and John on forever, because you remember the historical things and what happens, and it makes life easier with some experience. So I think that about that 3-year mark is about right. And plus, when you're signing up to do this, you only have to really do it for then 3 years. You can continue to 6 or 9 if you choose, but at least 3 years you've helped and made a commitment to do this. So I think that what that number is fine. And I think really if you got to go to 3 terms. I think 2 terms would be too tight of a turnaround, especially with the real small number theoretically that we have. And you start rotating experience and everything else. And if you're removing people after 6 years, that's a pretty quick timeline, especially with land development codes and all these things that take multiple years to get through. That a 3-year and 3 9-year term maxing out would probably be fair for everybody, I think.
I would agree, especially if you do end up with a 4-year cycle and a vice chair, and
Yeah.
limiting it to anything less than 3 would be
Pretty
challenging.
tough, yeah.
Any other thoughts? Otherwise, I'd encourage everybody just think about this or look at your other groups you've been involved in, what's worked, what's hasn't, and I think everybody would welcome this, and I think we'll probably get a new draft of this based on some of the comments here and bring it back. So.
As long as you don't add any more years to the chair. How many years do you think in there?
Life or
The commitment, you gotta stay here for life. Yeah.
All right. Seeing no other discussion here, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we're adjourned.